What's going on, everyone, and welcome to my post-2022 season top 25 roller coasters I have been on. I'm a roller coaster enthusiast who since 2017 has had the privilege of riding over 300 roller coasters across the United States. In 2022, the big highlight for me was my first trip to the Pacific Northwest. 2022 was also a year I made return trips to both Virginia and Florida. On this list, you will find rides that feature some of my favorite attributes. Those include intensity, great pacing, strong airtime, as well as forceful transitions and inversions. Rides like this. And that. And, oh, wait, not that. Oh, not that either. Ugh, I hate snakes. As with other coaster countdown lists, this is completely subjective. Please don't berate me of any disagreements in the comments, and I promise to respect your opinions. Now, before the countdown, a few honorable mentions. First, one new credit I got this year that just missed my rankings is Joker, the RMC hybrid located at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, California. Another coaster which jumped into my top 25 during the 2022 season, but couldn't hold on till the end, is Thunderhead, the GCI Woody located at Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Lastly, 5 coasters that were in my top 25 last year, but couldn't hang on till the end of 2022 include Mystic Timbers, the GCI Woody located at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Apocalypse, the GCI Woody located at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California. Prowler, the GCI Woody located at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri. Boardwalk Bullet, the Gravity Group Woody located at Kemah Boardwalk in Kemah, Texas. And Twisted Timbers, the RMC hybrid located at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. Now, let's get on to the rankings. At 25 is a high riser in my rankings from the past year. This is Kumba, the B&M sit-down located at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Kumba, which opened in 1993, may have a fairly conventional layout. However, this ride just powers through the entire course. Between the positive and negative G's, this coaster leaves an impression with every inversion it throws at you. It may not be the smoothest steel coaster, but a little roughness doesn't negate how intense of a ride this is. The first wooden coaster to appear on my list is Renegade, the GCI located at Valley Fair. What makes this ride great are the moments of sustained airtime, along with the sense of speed experienced low to the ground. Like many coasters out there, it takes some time to warm up during the day, which is particularly noticeable at elevated sections of track. If you get to ride this later in the day, however, this wooden coaster becomes relentless. One coaster that dropped a number of spots this year is Lightning Rod, the RMC located at Dollywood. This year was my first ride since a portion of track was converted from wooden topper to steel eye-box. For me, this change did not enhance the ride experience, or make it any more reliable, at least the day I was there. My favorite element is the twist and shout, which gives you some nice whip. However, nothing else really stands out too much for me, including the quad down, which I think is a really good sequence of airtime, but not an elite one. A milestone credit of mine is here at 22 in the form of Ravine Flyer 2, the Gravity Group located at Waldameer. This ride starts with a fantastic view of Lake Erie from the top of the lift hill, proceeding to shoot you down and over a bridge crossing the adjacent road. You get turned quickly around to cross the bridge again. For the rest of the ride, you get a plethora of airtime pops along with lots of lateral force. An absolutely phenomenal ride for a small park in Erie, Pennsylvania. Sadly, the next coaster is technically no longer with us. This is Top Thrill Dragster, the intimate accelerator from Cedar Point. Few moments built up so much anticipation for me than my first ride of the day on Top Thrill Dragster. The acceleration launching you from 0 to 120 miles per hour in 4 seconds was so powerful. Then, skyrocketing up the 420-foot tower to give the best view in the park was breathtaking. Sad to see this version of the ride disappear, but who knows, maybe the new iteration will make this ride better than ever. Another powerful launching coaster making my list is Max Force, the SNS located at Six Flags Great America. This ride utilizes an air-compressed launch, and actually has the fastest acceleration of any coaster in the US, taking you from 0 to 78 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds. In addition, this ride also gives some incredible hang time in the dog tongue double inversion, as well as featuring the fastest inversion taken in the United States. Very impressive to have all that chaos thrown into a 23-second ride. Next up at number 19 is Phantom's Revenge, the Morgan Hyper from Kennywood. Phantom's Revenge got a second life in 2001 when Morgan ripped up the track from the defunct Aerodynamics coaster Steel Phantom. This ride starts with 2 drops, with the second sending you down the adjacent ravine. After some high-speed turns, the rest of the ride is all about the intense string of airtime hills. The lap bar on the trains also has a little give to them to really enhance the negative Gs. For a hyper coaster, I feel this is extremely well balanced. My first new credit as well as the first new for 2022 coaster to make the list is Pantheon, the Intamin multi-launch from Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This ride might lack a little in the theming department, but Intamin knows how to make a forceful ride. The first launch is just fast enough to get you through the first inversion before heading for the swing launch section. The highlight of the ride has to be going backwards over the airtime hill. The rest of the ride features a few outer banks as well as a great zero-G stall. So glad to finally see Busch Gardens Williamsburg get a top-tier coaster. I actually have a tie for 16th place this year with similar coasters in Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas and Stunt Pilot at Silverwood. These are both RMC Raptor track coasters with almost identical layouts. Unfortunately, I missed riding Railblazer at California's Great America, since it was closed both days I attended the park. Both Wonder Woman and Stunt Pilot are incredibly fast-paced rides. In the back, you get obnoxious amounts of airtime going over the first drop. The rest of the rides are full of non-stop, action-packed airtime, twists, turns, and inversions. Both of these rides are located in fantastic settings and really enhance both parks' rides lineup. The best new wooden coaster credit by a country mile this year was Gold Striker, the GCI from California's Great America. Before getting on Gold Striker, I had ridden every other GCI currently operating in the US, and the gap between this and the rest is quite substantial. No other GCI really throws everything a powerful wooden coaster has at you like Gold Striker. From the extremely forceful turns, to the strong airtime, to the relentless speed, this ride is insane. It's a real shame to see Cedar Fair sell off California's Great America, leaving this ride with a questionable future for the next decade. At 14 is the widely popular Fury 325, the B&M Giga from Carowinds. Few roller coasters out there can match the speed of this beauty. Going down the 320-foot drop, it feels like it lasts for ages. Nothing but high-speed turns separate the first drop from the treble clef element, which twists you upward, then shoots you down under the front entrance walkway. The finale of the ride features two strong airtime hills before sending you to the brake run. One of the most visually stunning coasters out there, along with being one of, if not the best B&M out there. Another strong and action-packed wooden coaster is Hades 360, the Gravity Group from Mount Olympus. I unfortunately still only have one ride on this, but from what I remember, this thing is intense. An eventful pre-lift section leads to the first drop that will send you under the parking lot. Both going out and coming back, the darkness combined with the strong forces is phenomenal. Shooting out of the darkness and into a barrel roll is pretty epic too. Some find this ride too rough to enjoy, but for me, it just adds to an already intense experience. One of the more fun coaster experiences out there is from Twisted Colossus, the RMC hybrid from Six Flags Magic Mountain. This ride features two tracks which you experience both on your ride. The fun factor skyrockets when you get to duel the other side. However, that's not the most common occurrence. Dueling aside, both sides provide a nice amount of variety. I do prefer the green side mainly for two elements, the twist and shout turning the train around, and the zero-G stall, especially if the dueling train is right below you. RMC did a nice job making all aspects of this layout interesting. Some of the most powerful airtime on Earth can be found on El Toro, the intimate prefabricated wooden coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. This ride features 4 moments that absolutely try to launch you from the train. The first drop has one of the most intimidating looks out there in my opinion. Part of the reason this ride is outside the top 10 is the lack of any other notable elements besides the airtime. That said, being this high on my list as an airtime-based wooden roller coaster is extremely impressive. Starting the top 10, a wooden coaster with a lot more variety is Mind Blower, the Gravity Group from Fun Spot Kissimmee. It's crazy to me this ride has only an 80-foot drop, because with how fast-paced this ride is, it feels like you drop from 200. The first drop shoots you directly into the barrel roll over the station, which starts a sequence of multiple laps around the structure. No doubt there are smoother coasters out there, but when you're in a full train, the pacing quickens and the roughness becomes less noticeable. There is so much aggression with this ride, I had to keep it in the top 10 another year. The last new credit and new for 2022 coaster to make the list is Iron Guazi, the RMC hybrid from Busch Gardens, Tampa. It's been 3 years in the making, but this ride finally opened and it was impressive. The pacing is what makes Iron Guazi elite. While this ride isn't a super airtime based machine like several other RMCs are, this thing does have probably the best RMC inversion to date, the Alligator Death Roll. This ride also has the best wave turn I've experienced. The reason Iron Guazi is here is because all the rides above this I have never had early park day pacing issues, and this ride was a little weak in the morning. The afternoon and night rides certainly made up for it, and Iron Guazi is definitely one of the better RMCs. A coaster that jumped up a few spots this year is Intimidator 305, the Intamin Giga from King's Dominion. The name of the game for this one is high speed and high intensity. The 300-foot drop sending you straight into a bank turn is insanity. The couple of airtime moments on I-305 I feel are a bit underrated, but the definite highlight of the ride has to be the 3 rapid changes in direction, which would shoot you like a rocket from the train if no restraint were there. This is an example of a ride that makes the most from the speed it creates. A ride that certainly made a name for itself a year ago is Velocicoaster, the Intamin multi-launch from Islands of Adventure. I don't think I've been on a more complete package ride than Velocicoaster, mixing incredible theming with a high-thrill coaster. The first half of the ride definitely focuses more on the Raptor paddock theming, although there are a couple of great hang-time and airtime moments. The ride really takes it up a notch when you launch out of the paddock and race up the top half. The second half is full of intense turns, all culminating in the Mosasaurus roll over the lake. This ride is the perfect headliner for a world-class park like Islands of Adventure. Up next is the highly regarded Steel Vengeance, the RMC hybrid from Cedar Point. RMC and Cedar Point had a large leftover wooden structure from the defunct Mean Streak to use for its conversion, and they hit it out of the park. No other roller coaster has more seconds of airtime than this one. Part of the key to that is how well paced this ride is, and the fact that it keeps it for the entire layout. Every ride I have had on this, it feels just as fast as the previous, and the airtime is always forceful. My favorite element has to be the cutback when you're elevated on the first turnaround. If I had to make one critique, this ride lacks a little in the positive G department, but at this point, I'm nitpicking because every coaster from here on out is world class in my opinion. Starting off the top 5, we find Steel Vengeance's next door neighbor, Maverick, the Intamin Blitz from Cedar Point. For only being about a 100-foot tall ride, it is incredible how much speed and intensity is packed into this thing. A quick 95-degree drop starts off the ride and immediately throws you into multiple bank turns. The airtime hill that follows I find to be very forceful. After the double inversion, the train slows down and quickly launches you into the more aggressive second half. The latter portion of the ride is highlighted by the 2 stangle dives, which you need to experience yourself to see how good they are. It's going to take something real special for Cedar Point to build to beat this ride. From one Western-themed ride to another, here's Outlaw Run, the RMC Topper Track Woody from Silver Dollar City. The thing I love about this coaster is that every single element feels like it has a purpose and each are executed perfectly. The first cutback inversion is just outstanding and is followed up by a couple of strong airtime moments. A good wave turn is followed up with the finale double barrel roll. Between the variety of elements, the pacing, and the bite from being a wooden coaster, it all makes up a recipe for being the top RMC on my list. At number 3 is the incredibly disorienting ride X2, the aerodynamics 4th dimension coaster from Six Flags Magic Mountain. For this ride, you are seated on the sides of the track and going through the layout, one of the rails dictates how the seats rotate. For example, as you prepare to go down the near vertical first drop, the seats flip to have you go face down. The ride also has the seats fully flip over several times. One of the crazier endings to a coaster occurs here with the Ravine turn, followed by an additional flip into the brake run. It's sad that this was Aerodynamics' last coaster before going defunct, because I would have loved to have seen them build upon their other coasters along with building upon this masterpiece. The most intense roller coaster I've been on is Skyrush, the Intamin Hyper from Hershey Park. Between the insane forces this ride exerts on you, as well as how free your body is from being held in by just a lap bar, there is no denying how insanely aggressive Skyrush is. After shooting up the cable lift hill, the first drop has a notch halfway down, which is as out of control of a feeling as you can get if you're seated in the back. 2 of the strongest airtime hills out there follow, and for the rest of the ride, your upper body is at the mercy of the ride's sudden transitions. Hershey Park may have picked out a ride a little too much for the general public, but enthusiasts like me praise this park for putting in such an intense experience. Taking the top spot once again is the incredible Voyage, the Gravity Group Woody from Holiday World. To this day, I am still blown away with how well this ride keeps its insane pacing during the entire course. Starting with the Camelback Hills, to the lateral-filled twister section in the back of the park, to the low-to-the-ground sprint back to the station, this ride is relentless. What makes this ride also so good is how well Holiday World takes care of this ride, as well as their other 2 wooden roller coasters. If you've not had a chance to experience this, I highly recommend taking a trip to Santa Claus, Indiana to ride this beauty. And that concludes my top 25 roller coasters following the 2022 season. While 2022 was another fun year, my rankings didn't drastically change from last year. That said, in 2023, I am planning a trip I am super excited for and hopefully one that will shatter my rankings next year. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Have a great day and take it easy.